Welcome back, students. Here we have our final demonstration for our final project, the color ribbon. And we have our thumbnail. This is what I created just with the idea, taking notes. This is the artwork or the artist, Rich Pellegrino. And these are the colors that I'm using from this Willy Wonka painting. And we went through and did the blue before. This is going to be a demonstration where you see the next color, and I'm just going to paint it in a very similar way. So here's me mixing up a stain color of yellow. And once I get that kind of mixed up and I like how it looks, I'm going to go ahead and start applying that to the strip of color on my ribbon. So if I go through and look, this is feeling extra slow, like it's mixing many, many times. But here we go. We're just kind of blocking this in. The whole area of this strip of color, I'm going to put a very thin, very watery um, group of paint. I'm going to just lay it in. It's like a wash. And I just want to stain that strip of color in the right color zone so that I can go through and start to add lights and darks to it. So I think we're going to transition from this part, speed it up, finish blocking this in. We've zoomed in so you can see a little bit more detail. And I'm mostly just trying to stay inside the lines. If I go a little bit outside, I can fix that with later layers of paint. Acrylic dries pretty quick, not necessarily on this wood panel, but it does. So mine's going to be able to blend a little bit longer because this wood panel doesn't have a finish on it. So it's soaking up a lot of water and staying wet a little bit longer. Here at the end, I'm trying to do those little drips that I try to do. You can see me going back for more water and more paint quite a bit to get that done. It's a little bit tricky, but I wish I would have done it with the grain of the wood, which is actually going from side to side and not up and down. Up and down is always a better choice for this. So I think I'm about done with like that first wash and block in. So then we're going to skip over to adding in some darks. Here's me painting in a darker version. At this point, I only had the blue and this kind of ochre yellow color on my palette. So I added a little bit of blue to that to make it darker. I probably should have gone for a brown, and I think eventually I do when I get to the details at the very end. But here, this is real-time painting. It's not sped up or slowed down. This is just me painting the speed that I'm painting, trying to find those areas that I was shading with my pencil and block those in with this kind of medium to dark yellow color to get my shadows to start to build in. And for a long time in this, I'm going to be able to see the pencil lines showing through on my painting. And that's good because then I can understand where the light is, where the shadow is. So the more information you have in your drawing about light and shadow, the less you have to guess as you start painting, especially if you've gone through like me and you stained it a certain color first. So I've built up these values and I have um, mostly just light and shadow so far, keeping it kind of simple. And here I'm going to start to push towards the highlights. And as I kind of put these on here, I'm kind of doing little almost cross hatches with the brush. And you're going to see some more of that here. And then you're also going to see me smudging some of that with my fingers. This is still very wet because of the wood. And because of that, I can kind of push it and soften some edges. And you're going to see that as I start to do a little bit more here really quick. Mixing up a little bit more of that light. And I'm really just trying to pay attention to it. I do wish that I would have taken a picture of the lighting and the angle of the sculpture so that I had that as a reference as I went through and did this. But I didn't take one when I made the drawing. I just kind of sat down, made the drawing, and kind of went from there. Now I have kind of like a lighter yellow. It's not as white as the other one before. And you're going to see me kind of smudging and trying to bring those edges between light and shadow some kind of roundness and smoothness. Let the forms move from one to the other as it goes through. Here I am starting to bring some light back into it a little bit brighter. So this is more white. And what I'm kind of doing is painting in the white and then softening the top edge and softening the bottom edge, but leaving the paint alone in the middle. That's a very good technique for trying to have a smooth transition from one value into another is, you know, with a dry brush or a clean brush or your finger kind of smudging or smoothing out the edges on the left and right or top and bottom, but leaving the middle of the paint alone so that it can go through and stay bright. And that kind of starts to build your transitions. Here I am kind of trying to build a brighter yellow next to that. So the places that I was just smudging, now I'm kind of painting a little bit of yellow on, kind of building that up a little bit more. And I think we're going to start to transition to the last little bit of this part of the demonstration. I think I go back to some shading here. Nope. Here we go. You're going to see the whole process again, but this is for the purple zone. So here I'm staining everything. Now I'm putting in shadows. I'm drawing the shadows in with a darker, more solid purple. There we go. Now you can kind of see the form a little bit more. Then I'm bringing in the lights and I'm mixing white with it to bring in the light values. And you're going to see this for the other colors as well. And once you get to a certain point, you kind of let it dry and then you'll come back to it. So I'm mixing up kind of like a light ochre red here. That's the next color. This is a very thin strip of color. But again, I'm doing the same process each time. Stain the whole swatch, build up the darker shadows or the highlights first, then go to the opposite. So this one, I went with lights first. And then I'll go back and I'll get some darker shadows. Maybe I really like the dark already. I didn't really adjust it during this stage. But you can see the form. And here's the very last one of these. This one is a green. I think the green color ended up being a little bit darker than I thought it was going to be and maybe a little more opaque. So you can't see the drawing super well in this video, but I was able to see it. Here I am putting in the darker shadows first. And this is going to really show up once I start to add the lights. I can definitely feel that way from the video. Here we go. So here I am adding the light. And again, smoothing or smudging with a brush or your finger if you want to. A clean brush or a big softer brush. And as I bring those lights in, now you can see the form and it plays off of the shadow quite a bit. So here is the final look of the whole picture. You can see the details. So I did spend extra time that I did not video putting in and kind of fixing the values, fixing the shapes, fixing the forms. Kind of creepy, but pretty fun. Students enjoyed watching it. So we'll see you next time.